This was an old hotel, the Travelers Hotel. This is our 25th anniversary. We actually, the borough bought us the building back in 1998 after the bicentennial celebration. We had gathered a lot of artifacts at that time. I wasn't involved, but Skip Sample and many others were very crucial in that, gathering those artifacts. And then after the celebration was over, there was no place to put them. So they went to the borough, and the borough, thankfully this building was for sale, in pretty bad shape, but the borough bought it for us, and then through some grants, a lot of donations, a lot of hard work by many volunteers, we were able to turn it into this 3 floors of a museum. If you can stay around a little bit, would love before you leave, after Jack's presentation, take a look around. We have a lot of volunteers here that'll be happy to show you around, or just browse around. We've got an old horse-drawn mail wagon in the basement in our mail room. Yeah, so you want to go down and see that. It may be one of the last ones in all of Pennsylvania, as far as we know. It's one of the last few, anyhow, that was delivered mail rurally around Grove City. And a lot of very interesting. All our rooms upstairs, the hotel rooms, are themed rooms. So we have an agriculture room, we have a college room, we have a veterans room. So I think people that come in here just don't realize what we have here and how important it is to our community in keeping our history alive and well. And with that, we are a nonprofit, so we exist solely on memberships and donations. I can get very few grants because we're not a state organization, we're not even a county, we're a little city, so the grants usually don't pertain to us. So we have very limited ways of keeping this old building going. As you know, any old building, there's a lot of repairs that need to be done all the time. Right now, our main one is our roof. It's way overdue. We've got leaks. And we worry so much that these artifacts in this building cannot be replaced. So if they're damaged by water, we lose them. They're gone forever. So we are having a campaign with our 25th anniversary. It's called our 25 for 25 Capital Campaign. And we have forms out there. If you'd be willing to help however you can, we'd appreciate any donations that you can give us. We also have a donation box out there that that you can donate that way. But anyway, we would be grateful, so grateful to have you help us out with putting a new roof over our heads and protect our artifacts. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jack, and so he can get started on telling us about the country club.
Okay, can we turn that light down a bit?
No.
Thanks for coming.
I thought we said no.
Great to see everybody here.
No,
Marty, that won't work.
yeah.
If we turn one light off,
There's no way of turning it. If you flip it, it'll go off entirely, and then
yeah,
we can't
but
see
then
Jack's
there will be
face.
one left on.
Well, you try, Marty.
Yeah.
Maybe you can see that well enough.
See,
Would you rather see that or me? Okay. Thanks for coming. It's good to see everybody here. I think the history of the Grove City Country Club, if you went backwards in time from where we are right now, you wouldn't believe that it actually happened the way it did. I'm sure there's other clubs around the country that have made it through what we have, but I'm not sure there's too many. My background, I studied economics and history in Allegheny College before I went to law school at Pitt. I grew up in Grove City. There's video of me hitting golf balls out on the range at age 3, so that's 60 years ago. So I've been around for 60 years of more than half of the club's existence. And my sport is golf. So history, Grove City, and golf This is my thing right here. So we'll start, most people I think are more interested in the ancient history of the club, so I'll kind of focus on that a little more. But I do want to talk about the back nine, what we had to go through for that process a little bit. So we'll start here with a picture of the 18th hole in the clubhouse at the country club. There are not too many finishing holes and better patios to sit on than this one here. Grove City Country Club isn't just a place for us rich people to play. It's an asset to the community of Grove City. It's been a venue for hundreds of class reunions, weddings, Christmas party, charity golf outings. And those are, to name a few of those, the members of the community in Western Pennsylvania and outside the state have participated in. It's been the home course for the college and the high school since they started playing golf, having golf teams. We employ 50 to 60 people in the Grove City area. They're all paying taxes, they're buying things in Grove City, keeping the town afloat to some degree. We pay $28,500 a year to the township, county, and school district in taxes. We are an Audubon Wildlife Sanctuary. We preserve 31 acres of wetlands on our property. And we've had a lot of battles with the environmentalists about our property, but when it comes down to it, I don't think you're going to find anywhere with more wildlife. We have hawks, eagles, foxes, muskrats, geese, all kinds of wildlife. Bear have been seen out there, of course, deer. So it's been preserved very well as far as the wildlife. And the back nine of the country club has made way for the development of the Legends development out to the south of the club, where there's been dozens of nice homes that people have been able to live in and enjoy the privileges of the country club. So I think I wanted to start out with this because this isn't just a bunch of people having a playground out here and excluding others and not being a part of the community. We definitely are a part of the community. Yeah, there's rich people out there. We had a guy just passed away, Al Poneray, that had a private jet. But we also had a guy named Clyde Krevling who lived on Country Club Road that he drug his garbage up and used the dumpster at the club and took a shower in the locker room and waste his own water. So we had some marginal people. Okay, this is a Google Maps of the club as it is now. And the thing I wanted to show on here was the old access routes to the club there were three access roads. One was what's now Arnold Palmer Drive. Another one was Lake Drive, which is up here. And it used to go all the way to the lake. This is that Lake Drive that crosses North Liberty Road. That once went all the way to the lake. And then Old Barmore Lane up there, if you can see, would go in front of number 2 Green and across 4 Fairway. So there were 3 roads you could get to the country club. This Arnold Palmer Drive was never used for that. It kind of ran into the swamp area. There's a 25-acre lake here that is like the centerpiece of the club, and the course has been built around that, as most of you know. So this is another Google map of the club, and this is, we talked about the Legends development to the south of the club here. And there's even more houses and apartment buildings there now, that all of these people are considered adjacent to the club and can, if they want to be a member there, they can have their own cart privileges and use the country club. So all of this has been in the last 20 years since we built the back nine. This is a map that is in our clubhouse showing some of the original purchases of the property that started the club. It started out with Barmore Lake, which was named after Captain Barr and an attorney Moore in Pittsburgh. They bought the property and they dammed up a stream, Barmore Run, to create this 25-acre lake in about 1900. They put the spillway in at that time to capture the water and make a lake out of it. And what they did was they built a little merry-go-round, actually, that would have sat where the parking lot does now. And they sold rides on the merry-go-round, and they had a swimming area in the lake, and they had they rented boats out for campers to stay, and they sold ice in the winter when the lake would freeze. They would have people come in and cut ice. In fact, Tom Armour's, probably his grandfather, was one that was involved in cutting the ice, and there was an ice house down by the 18th green where they would keep the ice and sell it because there wasn't refrigeration back there. This is like early 1900, 1905 or 6. So that's how it all started out, was a park association. It was incorporated in 1902, and it had 17 members. So it kind of started to flounder. There was no way to generate big money there, and they started to look into selling it to a country club that had yet to be formed. And by 1917, there were enough subscribers, about 100 people subscribed to buy this property from Barr and Moore and create a country club. And one of the first founders of the club was, in fact, the first president was M.L. McBride, which would be Brenda's grandfather. And he put this all together. He put a package together for $9,500. They bought the lake and some of the surrounding property and formed this country club. What happened in 1917? World War I. We got sucked into World War I. So how we made it past that is almost a miracle. But we did, and started to build the golf course in 1921. So before I get to that, these are the different purchases that were made by the association to enlarge surrounding areas. These were all just farms or marshes that were purchased from Uri, Crosby, Sidley, etc., to get us up to about 100 acres at that point. This is a picture of 1983, kind of an overview of the lake. Of course, that wasn't the original clubhouse, but that's how the property was, that's how it looked as far as the lake goes back in 1917 when the club was formed. Barmore Lake is the centerpiece of the country club. Like I said, it's a 25-acre lake with, it's a beautifully shaped lake, not just a big circle. Very picturesque, no matter where you walk around the lake. This was probably from the 70s. We used to have stones out on the other side of the lake, spelling out Barmore. That's a picture from number 17 Fairway, looking across the lake. And that's one from number 18, looking across the lake. There's a shot from the swimming pool area in the fall. And that's around number 5 hole looking back to the clubhouse, Baltimore Lake. Now, we've always had a little trouble with controlling the weeds at Barmore Lake. We now hire aquatic environmental consultants to come in and treat it. So it's like nobody even notices, it's fine. But way back in the 20s, we wrote the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Board of Fish Commission asking them how we could control the weeds in the lake. And Mr. McBride wrote them a letter asking for permission to treat the lake with some type of chemical to kill the weeds, but not the fish. And the response here, if you think government's stupid now, there are no acids I know of with which to treat the water that would kill the plant life and not kill the fish, and this treatment would be direct violation of the law. The safe way would be to mow it. And then remove it as it floats to the top, or get a permit to draw off the lake and remove it with rakes or other implements. This would temporarily remove it, but as soon as the lake would fill up, it would grow again. That's not a lot of help. There's a couple more letters Mr. McBride wrote back and tried to get a permit to draw the lake down, to treat it somehow. And they wrote him back and said, we'll hold you personally liable if there's any fish that die. So I think they finally gave up. And fortunately, technology has improved to the point where we do have the means to treat the lake and make it look like these pictures. Okay, here's the old swimming area when the Barmore Lake Park Association was in existence. And there's some tents there, and this is a diving platform they used to swim. This is a 4th of July celebration. There were square dances and talent shows that went on there. This is actually out on the practice range. There is where this picture's taken. These pictures are in our clubhouse. On the 4th of July, there used to be hay rides. This is one of the hay rides, looks like back in the 60s. And that's a little bit blurry, but that's a picnic happening out at the picnic grounds there that were used a little later on. Here's another picture of the picnic grounds with some young people. I'm going to leave that up because you might recognize some. Okay, let's see what I missed here. Okay, back to building the course. The original course I'll just scroll through these. That's, again, this is a picnic area at the country club. That's the picnic area in the pool presently. The swing sets were donated back in the early 1900s, and there was a big metal slide there, so you might remember that. It was donated by, I think, the Carruthers family. And it's gone, too many people fell off. It's almost as tall as that pole. Okay, so the course started in 1921, and Tom Bendelow was the architect. And he was a famous golf course architect. He designed Medina, which has held major tournaments, in the Chicago area, Sharon Country Club in Chicago, not the little one here. He designed a bunch of really good golf courses, and somehow we got him to lay out our course for a total of $260. But we had to go out, and the members had to pick the rocks off the fairways. So there were rock picking parties where the members went and picked the rocks off. Then it was plowed and seeded, and the budget to build the first 9 holes was $2,000. It started out with a 6-hole golf course. Scroll through these. Okay, so this is an old map, I guess, of the course that Dick Albright made. And the original course was, number 1 was the same, number 2 was a par 5, number 3 was the same, only it was a dish bowl green in front of the existing green. It was like in a dip. It's been moved back. Number 4 was the same, it was a par 4. And then there was a par 3 to the green that used to be up at the end of the practice range. And then a par 4 down to the putting green. So it was a 6-hole golf course. And shortly after those 6 holes were built, they constructed a bridge across the channel. And these are some photographs from them making the bridge across the channel so we could go to the other side of the lake and build the rest of the golf course. So the channel I'm talking about is about in the middle there. And the holes that they built after, the first 4 over here, the next 5 are over here. So they built the rest of the golf course almost immediately after. It would have been the late 20s when things were going pretty good here and around the country in the 1920s. So we were fortunate to get that 9 holes built before what happened in 1929. The stock market crash and then the Great Depression. Somehow we made it through that. A lot of members had to quit. People lost their jobs. People lost everything. And a few members that had some money lent the club money on a bond issuance and kept the club alive with different amounts of bonds. I think there were Series D bonds. There were 3 other bond issues before the Depression. But somehow we made it through that, and were able to survive with a 9-hole course. Okay, backing up a little bit. This is the original clubhouse called the Roundhouse. So there was a merry-go-round that Barr and Moore had for entertainment, and what they did was they took the shell of that and made a clubhouse, and it was called the Roundhouse, the Carousel House. So that's sitting pretty much where the clubhouse is now. And to the left of that, I'm sorry. Okay, that's a closer up of the Roundhouse. There's a menu, you might as well hit that right now. That was where they were serving at the.
What's the date, Jack? Is there a date on that?
There's not a date, but it has to be like the
Top
49.
Oh, is that 49? Okay.
Oh, yeah. See, somebody wrote it on.
I don't know if that's right. I have got to believe it's before that, from where I found it. 30 cents for a cheeseburger. Okay, so there was a fair day that they had, And you can see that there's the roundhouse up to the right there. And this is the only picture I know of the locker rooms, which were to the left. So there's a men's and women's locker room right there, the white structure that is attached to the clubhouse. There's the first set of bylaws. You don't have to read them, but they're there. Again, the map. There's a scorecard from the 70s. I couldn't get one earlier than that, but Eric Johnson was the pro there. I'll touch over the pros right now that I know of. There was Neil McHugh, Eric Johnson, John Zabrowski, who played in the U.S. Open in 1981. George Reynolds came from Charlottesville, Virginia. He was a pro for several years. Chuck Alex was a pro. Chuck was a very good teacher. His wife, Janet Alex, now known as Janet Anderson, played at Grove City Country Club in '81 and '82. And in '82, she won the U.S. Women's Open. So she was a major title holder and played with a lot of our members during that time she was there, and Chuck was her teacher. After Chuck Alex, we had Dave Aldemus, then we had Daryl Shipos, and now we have Wes Gable. So those are the pros I remember. All very unique people and helpful to the members. We've been very lucky to have good pros there. Okay.
Well, can I ask a question? You back up one, yeah, down at the lower left, there's that lake. Does that flow into the bigger
Yeah.
lake?
Yes. So Barmore Run would come through here, and that's actually where we live, a little pond there, and then it flows into Barmore Lake. And it's also a spring-fed lake. The springs are mostly up on the end by number 6. So the old layout had number 9 green, would be like between the swimming pool. I guess the best way to show it is back there is number 18 green with the sand trap, and you can see a little bit of the clubhouse. That's the old number 9 green there. It was like a double dogleg par 5. And we quit using that when we went to 18 holes. We just made old number 9 the new number 18. But this was one of maybe the best green on the golf course. It just beautiful contours, and you can see how nice a green that was. It was hand mowed back then. You can see the mower cuts. Also, take a look at the golf cart. So that had to be, motorized golf carts were 1962. That had to be shortly after that this picture was taken. Okay, so some good golfers came out of Grove City Country Club. Lou Worsham was a U.S. Open champion, 1947. He came up to play an exhibition with Neil McHugh, who was our pro at the time. So the two pros played against Jack Mahaffey and Miff McBride, and they ran into a buzzsaw. Because Miff and Jack beat them. It's kind of cut off there, but it says amateurs beat the pros on the right. So we had, Jack was from Oakmont. He was a great golfer from Oakmont, and Miff had Oakmont connections, and I think was a member there for quite some time at Oakmont. But that was a great exhibition. A lot of people followed and watched that in 1953. The club was really starting to get going in the early 50s, and that's I would say the late 40s and early 50s, the membership started to really go up. Golf was really catching on in the mid to late 50s with Palmer and television. So here's a picture of Barmore Lake back, way back. We're going to go back to talk about the cottages that were located near the fifth hole. And you can see one on the left there. This is looking back towards the clubhouse. This is the present number 5 tee. So you can see there's no cottages there now, but there would be one on the left of the tee and one down at that little flat area on the right. And the cottages were the Montgomery McKay families. And this would be Bob Montgomery's father. Bob was just the nicest gentleman you would ever want to know. His uncle started the Montgomery Broom Factory in Grove City, which was in the building where that Econo Cleaners is now. But his family had that, and the McKay family, Bill McKay was his father. A lot of us might remember Bill McKay from the country club. The McKays and the Montgomerys. And that cottage sits right on the lake on number 5 tee there. That's not the best picture of it, but I got better ones there. Okay, so the cottage was, it slept 25 people. They had people from George Jr., it was co-ed back then, come in and cook meals. They had a well, and the well somewhere around there still, it's capped off, but there is a well out there. There's another picture of it from the lake. It was called Oak Point Cottage at some time. There's stones on there. Now, we believe that either this cottage or the one on the other side of the tee was moved, again, there's existing 5 tee, was moved to, oh, sorry, was moved to across from the KFC in Grove City on Route 208. That's 208, and that's what we believe is one of those cottages that was moved there in 1945. Okay, this is the luau party, and that's Joel and his wife, Joel Montgomery and his wife, Nancy Montgomery, that's Quattro's mom in the middle, Cork and his first wife, Sonia. And this is one of the pictures that I was able to
That's
find.
the old clubhouse, right?
That's the new club.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Which one's Corky?
Corky's on the right, and there's Joel on the left. Joel just passed away a couple of weeks ago. This is a picture of Neil McHugh, the pro, that played in that exhibition, and the greenskeeper, everybody just called him Red. And that's probably what, in the 60s? And these are just some of the foursomes at the club. I don't know who the first gentleman is, but I think it's Dave Nordstrom, Clyde Krevling, and Bill Eccles in that group. Kate Rogers and Kay Krevling, I'm not sure who's in the middle there. She was a character. These are two of the better golfers, were Sally Soppett and Alice Kettler. And that's probably, again, in the 60s, maybe early 70s. Boy, that Ektachrome color film is, still can't beat it, can you? This is Mrs. Jane Pickens and her friends relaxing on the beach, and this was where the pool is right now. Is where the beach used to be. And You come in and take your chair and towel and sit down there and watch your kids swim, and this is proof we did swim in the lake. Okay, so, let's see what oh, back to the creation of the golf course. There was an article in Judge Magazine on October 7th, 1922. A golfer wrote this magazine and said he played Grove City Country Club, 1922, so 1 year after it was built. He said his playing partner hit the ball to the right on number 1. They went to look for the ball, and they found the ball, and then when he went back to find his clubs, they were lost. The grass was so high he couldn't find it. So he wrote and said that Grove City Country Club was one of the worst golf courses. And that was published in Judge Magazine, and we still have a copy of that. Okay, the old club championship. We had some unbelievably good golfers come out of this club. Two of the first ones were Chick and Johnny Murray, and they were brothers, and they played in the club championship between 1925 and 1933. And there's a story, Bob Montgomery was caddying for Johnny, and Chick, they played the same way we did for years and years, around the 9 holes for 4 rounds. So he played 4 9-hole rounds and kept playing a 36-hole match to see who won match play. Well, the first 2 times on number 4, which is a pretty tough hole, Chick made a birdie. So apparently John says, I'll bet you can't make a birdie again, whereupon Chick made an eagle. So Chick went on to play for North Carolina or North Carolina State, I'm not sure. Johnny went on to play for Penn State. He was second man on the Penn State golf team behind Fred Brand, who was a renowned golfer in western Pennsylvania. And Bill McKay also played on that Penn State golf team. So that started a long line of successful golfers that came out of Grove City Country Club. Going on in the club championship, there was an era where Miff McBride won 7 consecutive club championships. And he said to me one time, he said, that's a hard tournament to win. You can't believe how hard it is to win that tournament. I said, how hard could it be if you won 7 in a row? And he said, this had to be in the 70s, he's telling me this. He said, I never won another one after 1957. So there's some good stories about that. For myself, in 1981, that was probably my best year of golf. I was an All-American in college. I won a long driving contest. I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And I couldn't win the club championship. I lost to Dave Hagstrom. Well, Dave Hagstrom in 1983 was All-American, and he lost to his brother, Jim, in the club championship that year. My brother Tom won the state championship in 1980 and lost to me in the club championship. Ryan Proquet was one of the top golfers to come out of Grove City High School, and he lost in the club championship to his golf coach, Pat Faris. So, and probably the best one is Mike Rennick, who had the course record in 2005 of 60. He couldn't win the club championship that year. Another club championship story is Steve Allen versus Bobby Collar, 1978. The 2 of them, we all got along great playing out there, but Steve and Bobby did not get along very well, and they were in the finals of the club championship in 1978. And somebody thought, it's probably the pros, probably Eric, said, you know, we ought to have somebody go out and be the referee of this match, just in case something happens. So, Miff McBride volunteered to be the referee. He said, how hard can this be to referee a golf match? You're supposed to call all your own shots, all your own penalties, there shouldn't be any problem. Well, on the very first hole, Bobby Collar has a birdie putt of about 20 feet, and it goes right up to the hole and it stops. And Steve says, that's good for par, and sure enough it drops in the hole. So Miff had to make a call right then and there as to what it was going to be. He said, it's a birdie, you don't have to take the conceded shot. But Steve went on to win that club championship. It was his only one. Bobby Collar won twice. Okay. So we, how are we doing on time? Okay, so we built swimming pools. We got tired of swimming in the lake, so we built a pool in 1978. These are some pictures of the pool. It's a beautiful pool, a beautiful facility. A little snack shop and the shower and changing rooms there. So we now have a first-class swimming pool. That's just the club champions board there that we have in the clubhouse. There's Miff McBride won 7, Billy Allen won 5. And there's Mr. McBride handing me the trophy in 1980. We had 19 championships between us. There's Jim Hagstrom. Jim was the 1986 Pennsylvania Amateur champion. Best amateur in the state by 8 shots at Marion Country Club, which has hosted U.S. Opens. There Jim is on the 6th tee at Grove City. He is one of the 2 or 3 that tried out for the tour from Grove City. And that's my brother and Coach Dick Knoll. Tom was the state champ, high school state champ in 1980. Coach Knoll coached the Grove City golf team for, I would say, 25 years. Our golf team had the privilege of being the first to lose a home match in 13 years. So the record of Grove City High School in golf matches, that tells you, right there shows you how good of a program Grove City had. And a lot of that had to do with how the parents and the pro at Grove City Country Club supported junior golf. Sorry there's many pictures of me here, but this is my foursome, my beloved foursome. I played for years with Jack Behringer, Al Eichen Sr., George Hagstrom, and this was 1992. Here's some scorekeepers on the front porch. Kay Krevling, I'm not sure who's beside her. Then there's Linda Hagstrom. And B.J. Lane would have been the manager. Some more women golfers here. I'm not sure who, I think it's Alice Kettler and Kay Krevling diagonally that way. I'm not sure who any of the others are. But I wanted to show you this picture because the screened-in porch on the clubhouse there is now where the carousel room is. That's the only picture I've seen of that screened-in porch. And the caddies were only allowed to go on the porch, and some of the guys, you were allowed to order lunch on whoever you caddied for I caddied for my dad, so that wasn't an issue, but Dave Pickens caddied for Red Sturgeon. And Red would only pay him $4.50 to caddy for 18 holes. And Red hit the ball everywhere. He supposedly hit the ball in the lake from every tee on the golf course. That was his claim to fame. So Dave would go in and order an open-faced steak sandwich and a hot fudge sundae every time. All right, so what we did there is built that carousel room instead of the porch, and that's enabled us to host a lot of events and parties. It's a beautiful room, and it kind of is supposed to mirror the carousel that was there to begin the country club's history. So it's been a great addition to the club. And that's a fairly recent picture there. You can see the carousel room from every angle that you go on the property except right behind it. That's from the practice range, the clubhouse, current clubhouse and carousel room. So that's what we have now, going through 2 world wars, a depression, and all the hassles we've had to go through. We have a fantastic facility. This is the back 9 committee. I'm not going to have time to go into much on the back 9, but that's Gene Campagna, George Elliott, myself, and George Hagstrom. The back 9 was constructed to the left, upper left there, is all the new holes on that side of the course. It was originally a farm owned by Harold Connor. He sold it to us in 1957 for $19,500, 80 acres. And we didn't even know we had it. We weren't even collecting rent from them until we formed the back 9 committee and started looking into this as to how we could build the back 9. There's some more. This is aerial photos I took in 2003 when it was just starting to mature. Well, we had a hell of a time getting that passed through the different agencies. We had 8 objections to the permit because we were originally going to encroach on wetlands. But we gave up on the wetland encroachment. It was just too much of a hassle. The original plan went through wetlands, which you can see the bottom left is a lot of wetlands. So we totally had to avoid those and hit over them and only move 38.5 yards of cubic dirt to build that golf course. And we were able to do that for $575,000. And that included irrigating both the old 9 and the new 9. So one of the objections, there were 8 objections to us building that. Everybody gets to comment on it. And one of them is kind of noteworthy. From the Mercer County Federation of Sportsmen's Club. And they objected to our permit to build this golf course. While most of our members are not trained experts in the field, and field is spelled F-E-L-D, and we have not actually visited the site, we are dedicated to the protection and preservation of ecological system. These are hunters. It appears to us, by studying sketches attached to the public notice, that the property to be filled is currently swamp and or bottomland along Barmore Run. We question whether the planned P-L-A-N-D, and animal life would readily and immediately adapt to the pond type replacement that is proposed. It also appears that the area of mitigation are adjacent to some sort of residential district. So obviously weren't there. If this is the case, we are concerned for the impact on the landowners or tenants. By the regular meeting of our county federation on September 25th, 1991, the unanimous vote of the 9 clubs present was to oppose the filling of this wetland, even though a larger replacement area is proposed. We don't feel that the enjoyment of the relatively few members of the Grove City Country Club justifies disturbing the environmental balance of nature. Signed by Glenn L. Clark, President, Greenville, PA. And I think we got the last laugh on Greenville because their club is now a weed patch, and we've got this. But we had those 8 objections to this proposal, and 3 of them were past the time limit. The DEP still considered them. So we got through that, we got the back 9 built. And now we have a golf course that is ranked among the best in western Pennsylvania and was called by Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette as a hidden gem. Okay, a couple little stories and then I'm going to be done. So, there was a guy by the name of Ben Capron that played at Grove City Country Club. And Ben was teeing off on number 18 and hit his ball in the water. So he grabbed another ball from his partner's bag, put it on the tee, and hit him in the water. And then he called out to his partner, he said, "Give me another ball." And his partner looks at him like this, and Ben says, "Hey, if you can't afford the game, don't play." Then we had Wayne Bashline on number 5 hit his ball in the water and threw his entire bag into the water. And he made his caddy go in and get the bag and drug it out. Pulled out his watch and threw it right back in the game. So we had some, in the back room of the clubhouse here, we had a washing machine to wash the range balls. And there was a ringer on the washing machine. And we had Brad Ryder worked in the pro shop and Doug Straub. They would get down and catch snakes in the spillway and run them through the ring. And probably the most famous story is when Miss McBride brought a guest from Oakmont Country Club up who hit a wild shot on number 4, and his ball landed directly upon a used condom. That's part of the history of the club. If you have any questions for a few minutes, Kathy said we could try and answer.
Jack, what year did we open the back nine?
Back nine was 1996. There are some more pictures here. There's Paul Azinger playing the back nine. There he is on number 9. He's come twice to play. That's the scorecard to be signed. There's Tom Place and his wife. He got some good press on this. And this is just how the holes have matured over the years. So we are very lucky to have this golf course and have gone through all the tough times we did.
Jack, can you mention just briefly how difficult it was to make the decision to build the back 9? I remember the meeting where you laid out the options and what would have happened had we not, under your leadership, decided to build that back 9.
Well, the membership, what had happened was Pine Grove went to 18 holes, Green Meadows went to 18 holes, and we were still 9 holes, and our membership was dwindling. In 1990, we had 240 members, 246. Our dues were 1,092. In 1994, we were down to 210 members, but the dues were up to 1,824. So we had to take the chance here of building this back 9, and a lot of people didn't think we could do it financially. In fact, there was a banker that was brought in that said, what you ought to do is just save $20,000 a year, and in 10 years you can get a mortgage to build the back 9. Unfortunately, we don't listen to bankers. But we took the chance to build it, and we were so lucky to get Frontier Construction. They had a lot of experience, but they were a new company, and they wanted to get their name out there. The Gary Weasel, the guy that did the irrigation system, did Augusta National and Hilton Head, so he was top of the line. And Nick Soliano was the guy for Frontier Construction. He had built Diamond Run and Nevillewood and Shadow Creek out in Vegas. So we had some top-notch people build that golf course for cheap.
In your opinion, have you not done that, was the club at risk?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's no way we'd survive. We used as an example, Titusville Country Club was a 9-hole course. It went under. Connequenessett was a 9-hole course. They built another 9 holes, they're 18 now, and they're still thriving. So, yeah, there's no doubt it was a risk, but we had to try it.
How was the impact of the DuPont situation?
Okay, the DuPont killed, the Imprellis herbicide killed 65 of our pine trees. And they took full responsibility for it. It was a class action suit we were part of, and we got a substantial amount of money for that. But it was a herbicide that just didn't, mostly Norway spruce trees got killed with it. I have a picture of one of them up there. I did? Yeah, you're right there. That one wasn't that bad, but it eventually died. So we had to cut them all down and replaced a lot of them.
They had to mitigate the soil and everything.
Yeah, they had to. It was so bad, they had to take the soil around the trees out and put it into some sterile disposal package. It cost them a lot of money.
What year was that?
I'm gonna say that was 12 years ago.
Can you speak to how the development of the Legends came to be, or?
Yeah, so Legends was the Connor farm out there when Harold Connor was getting old and he was down to about 25 cows. He finally said it's time to give it up, sold the farm to Legends of Grove City, which was Hartong's owned it at that time. Started out just with 8 or 9 houses right on the golf course, and then has expanded to, there's probably 75 acres. I bet there's 30 houses and 3 apartment buildings back there now, and probably room for another 10 or 12 more. And that's in Pine and Liberty Township.
I don't think you necessarily had a great picture of it at all, but I remember, and you remember, when you finished number 7, looking out where number 8 is now. It's beautiful now because it's up and down and there's trees. That was one big platform.
I do have
A bunch of cows at the end of it. I remember when I brought my buddies up to play number 13, I always felt I had an advantage because all the cows were mooing and it was swinging beside the fence area. But that was one big farm, that, oh yeah, it was flat as could be.
That's that's looking at exactly what you said, that's number 8. Just flat nothing until the Connor farm. And then in 2005, you start to see some trees, and then here it is now. Same hole right now, 25 years later.
Yeah.
Very, very mature, but yeah, there was nothing out there. But it's amazing he built that golf course only moving 38 yards of dirt.
Yeah.
He said he's built courses where he's moved 10 times that much, and that kept the cost down. And DEP came in and they said, you don't have any sedimentation ponds or sedimentation areas here. And Ponco said, we would move more dirt building those sedimentation ponds than we're moving building this golf course. The terrain, other than those flat areas where we get some mounding, the terrain to the left of that, as you know, is just perfect, just beautiful. So there's hardly any earth moving there.
Thank you, Jack, for a really interesting and fun presentation. Out there, we have cookies, and in honor of the Grove City Country Club, we have Arnold Palmer beverages out there. The history of Arnold Palmer beverages, right now, a picture of Arnold Palmer right beside it. So please help yourself to